So just coming to lie with the knees hugged in, if that's comfortable. And if you're feeling tight in the back or the belly doesn't feel very comfortable, then you can have the knees separate and the hands separate, and the knees can sort of be to the sides of the torso. If it's more comfortable for you, then you can always have your hands underneath the hamstrings, have the knees together. And wherever you are, start to allow the shoulders to relax towards the floor, and you might cross the ankles. Sometimes that can be comfortable. So find a position in which you feel you can really start to just let the spine, and especially the middle and upper spine and shoulder blades, start to relax. So in this position, the pelvis is tilted backwards, so you get a nice contact with the floor and the lumbar spine, but can you start to let go of the shoulders? So if that means you've got to only just have your fingertips on your knees or on your hamstrings, then go ahead and do that. And then start to find your breath and feel the belly pressing against the thighs as you inhale, maybe even a little broadening of the back. And then maybe the thighs just float a little closer to the chest with your exhale. So start to find a rhythm to the breath, inhaling, exhaling. And then bring your left foot to the floor and hug the right knee. So really pull the right knee in, so you start to get more of a stretch around the right glute, maybe into the back. And you can either hug into the hamstring behind the knee or over the knee, so whichever's more comfortable for you. And just point and flex that right ankle a couple of times. Draw a circle, waking up the foot, the ankle. You might feel the shin muscles or the calf muscles working. Lovely. And then hugging it in really closely, start to lengthen the left leg along the floor. So toning the toes back, pressing the heel into the floor. You're aiming to ground the thigh. It might be nowhere near, but that's the feeling. So you start to open up the front of the left hip. Allow the shoulders to relax back down towards the floor and take a breath here. Feel as if you're reaching your left foot away from the pelvis, lengthening out. And then hug the left knee in. And start to straighten the right leg along the mat, avoiding the Labrador if you can. And point and flex your left foot, circling the foot, the ankle. And then really start to feel that you're hugging that knee in a little bit more. So again, if that feels compressed, as if it's compressing the knee, take hold of the back of the knee, the hamstring, and then feel as if you're lengthening the right leg out from the pelvis. Relax the shoulders if they've started to tense up, and see if you can get that sensation of an opening in the front of that right hip. Lovely. Take another breath here, reaching out through the right heel, and then bend your right knee, plant your right foot, and start to explore the hamstring of the left leg. So straightening the leg to your own degree, feel as if you're pressing the femur bone into the hands, and then tone the toes back towards you. So we've been hugging the leg in, so your back is flat on the floor here. As we start to extend the left leg, can you feel as if that low back just lifts away from the floor a little bit? The sit bones descend, and you get a little bit more stretch through the hamstring. That's it. Good. And again, just point and flex that foot, circle the ankle, and then straighten the right leg. And feel as if both legs are extending out from the pelvis. Press into the heels. Nice. So right leg along the floor, left foot towards the ceiling. Nice. And then hug both knees in. Have a little rock, bring your right foot, left foot to the floor, if you can find it. And then start to straighten the right leg towards the ceiling. So press through the heel, you're pressing the femur bone into the hands and starting to feel as if you can lift the lumbar spine away from the mat. So your sit bones descend a little bit. You'll get a little bit more stretch through the proximal hamstring towards the sit bone. Nice, draw the toes towards your nose, just exploring that range of movement. And then when you're ready, straighten the left leg along the Labrador or the mat. And feel as if you're reaching into both feet from the core of your pelvis. And then sweep the arms back. And shine out in all directions. And then hug the knees in. And then we'll roll up seated. And if, like me, you're a little bit tight in the hips this morning, then grab something to sit on and come and sit cross-legged. And sit nice and tall. So if you feel as if you're dropping back a little bit and shortening between the ribs and the hips, that's when you want to sit up nice and tall on something. So crossing the legs to where you're comfortable. Take the left fingertips down and reach up through the right fingertips and start to hinge over. So breathe into this right lung, shoulder draws away from the ear. And root down through the right sit bone so we get a little bit more space. Inhale, come up, swap sides, and reach out through that left hand. Breathe into the left lung. And then come up to center, just roll the shoulder blades for a moment. Great, so then see if you can wriggle the knees closer to each other and the ankles away from each other. So you're basically narrowing your stance a little bit, as much as you can, the knees come down. So you might need a brick, Maggie, to put your hands on. See how it goes. So you can, basically you've come from here to here. So we're starting to narrow the distance between the knees, so your knees are more in line with the hips. So then if you need a brick, that's absolutely fine. You might have your fingertips on the floor. We want to start to fold forward, so rooting the sit bones back and hinging at the hips, so as if you're going to offer the chin forwards, and you should start to feel a little stretch through the hips. And usually you'll get more of a stretch on the side that has the shin in front. Yeah. So start to take the attention back into the hips and feel as if you're rooting the sit bones down and then folding forwards. And you might find over a few breaths that you can fold a little deeper, which is why, again, it's quite nice to have the brick here. And take another couple of breaths there. Give you something to lean on. You might not need it, Ali, it's up to you if you're happy with your hands on the floor. One more breath here. And then start to come out, take the hands just behind the pelvis. Again, that can be on bricks if you're quite high. Draw the shoulder blades into the back of the heart, lift up the sternum, take the ears back, the throat back. And then change the cross of the legs. So this can often feel really awkward when you've got your, for me, it's definitely my non-dominant shin in front. Again, you're protecting a little bit the knees by drawing the feet back. And you might feel a bit more wonky on here. Good, so sitting nice and tall, then start to take the hands forwards, rooting the sit bones back. Oh, did we not, we did both sides before, Terry. So you should have done both sides, but if you want to have another side bend, go ahead and do another side bend. And then bringing the knees towards each other, the ankles away from each other. You can have the hands on the floor, fingertips on the floor or on the brick. Just start to draw the chest forwards. So we want to feel as if the sit bones are rooting back and the chest is offering forward. So you're not just squishing down in the middle, you're not just shortening from the ribs to the hips. You're lengthening from the pelvis. So we should start to get a little stretch in the pelvis and the hip. Take a few breaths here, and you may find that you get to a point where you can bring elbows onto a brick. You could get your elbows on the floor. The thought, I can't. And let the neck and the head relax. Take the attention to the breath, rooting back through the sit bones. Then start to come back up. Take the hands behind, draw the shoulder blades into the back of the heart, lift up through the sternum. And then take the legs wide. So again, for me, this really works better if I'm lifted a little bit in the sit bones. So I've got a nice little block to sit on. So you want to be as far, as wide with the feet as you can, but keeping the lift through the spine. So sometimes we'll try and go so wide that we drop through the spine. So you want to stay lifted. Great. And then start to reach the fingertips towards the right toes, not holding on. Sweep the hands forwards and sweep the hands towards the left toes. So as you go from side to side, reaching over towards the toes, you're going to feel this opening through the adductors, maybe the tops of the hamstrings. So keep the feet firm, drawing the toes back. Can you feel that? So start to take it into a little bit more of a side bend. So you take one arm over, reaching forward, sweep across, feel that sensation of opening through the inner thigh, maybe the hamstrings as you move. That's it. Keep the breath flowing. Keep the leaning forward. So come through the middle rather than just going from side to side. So reach forwards and then over into your side. And lovely. Just do one more each side. And then take the hands behind, lift up the sternum, bring the feet together, and then come on to your knees. And your bricks can be helpful here. So bring your right foot forwards and wriggle your right toes forwards, and then leaning the chest over the shin, really. You're offering your chest forwards again. Start to bend the elbows and bow. So again, we're tuning into the back of this right leg. Feel as if you're wrapping the outside of the right hip down towards the floor as you lengthen the torso forward. So you can have bricks or fingertips on the floor. Feel as if you're broadening the sit bones. So sometimes if we've gone too far or we need to lift a little bit, you'll feel as if you can't broaden the sit bones, which gives you a little lift. So being high on the bricks allows that to happen nice. Give your right toes a waggle. And then we're going to move between lunge and that half split position. So as you inhale, allow the hips to drop forwards, lift the heart, shoulder blades draw in. And as you exhale, lifting the right toes, bow towards the right thigh. So your inhale takes you forwards into a lunge, the hips drop forwards. And then exhale, and the hips drop back. Try a couple more, inhaling, lengthening the tailbone even as you extend will give you a bit more connection with that left hip flexor. Lovely. Let's do one more each way. Coming back into Hanumanasana. So this is this half Hanumanasana pose. So I'm going to turn away from you just to show what we're doing. So the right toes are going to start to point to the horizontal edge of your mat. You can bring the bricks around with you. So we come into gate pose. Is that making sense? Yeah, so your knee and right foot are in a line, and then bring your left hand in line with your left knee and reach up to the ceiling. And then lift your right foot off the floor. Nice, and then bending your right knee, you're going to reach back for the right foot to the right ankle. There we are. Now lengthen the tailbone. And push the foot into the hand as you open the chest towards the ceiling. Start to release the foot. Bring the right hand down to the mat. Good. And then you're going to step your right foot forwards again into your lunge. Bring your hands onto your hips. Lengthen the tailbone. So here we start to get a slightly different stretch into the left hip flexor. So you really want to feel that you're lengthening the back of the body as you lift up the heart. Nice. And you can interlink your fingers, roll the shoulder blades in, and then lift the hands away from the sternum. Keep the back of the neck long. Have another breath. And then release. Last one on this side. Take your left knee back. And then you're going to wriggle your right foot towards your left hand. And that right knee drops behind your right elbow. That's it. So your hands can be on bricks or on the floor. And we start to come into the right hip. So it's like a high pigeon. You shouldn't be pressuring the knee, so we're sort of here. So as you let that knee drop out, you get the stretch in the, so bring the knee behind the right hand a bit more. Yeah. So that the knee is behind this right elbow. Does that feel all right, Maggie? Have you got that a little bit in your right hip? Yeah. Another breath. And then bring your right knee next to your left. Just sit the hips back. Have your hands on bricks or fingertips on the floor. And just come down into child's pose for a breath. And then when you're ready, we'll take that to the other side. So coming on up, take your left foot forwards into Hanumanasana. So drawing your left hip back and feel as if you're wrapping the outside of your left hip down towards the floor. So we're back into hamstring. So straighten your left leg a bit more, Ali, so the toes are up if that's available. And your bricks can always help to then give you a bit of extension through the spine. Lovely, Maggie, that looks great, everyone, yeah. So, and almost feel as if you're dragging the left hip back or the left heel back. And you'll get a little bit more connection with the tissue in the back of the leg there. Another breath. And then we start to move with the breath. So as you inhale, the left foot flattens, the hips drop forwards, you lift the chest. As you exhale, keeping the left heel where it is, straighten the leg and bow. Inhaling, coming up, hips drop forwards, chest lifts, exhale, and take the hips back. Good, let's do a few more. Inhaling, exhaling. One more. Inhale. Good. Exhale and bow. And then we'll start to transition into gate pose. So bring the left toes pointing to the long edge of your mat. The foot's in line with the knee, and then take the right hand down in line with the knee and reach the left arm up. That's it. And then lift the left foot off the floor. So your hand and knee and foot are all in a line. Great. Open up the chest to the ceiling. Bend the left knee, reach back for the foot or the ankle. and come into a thigh stretch. Now, can you lengthen the tailbone here? Get a little stronger stretch through the left thigh. You don't want to feel this compressing in the low back, so really feeling as if you're drawing up pubic bone to navel. Take another breath. And then release, bring your left hand to the floor. And then stepping your left foot forwards, hands on the hips. Lengthen the tailbone, start to get a little deeper into that right hip flexor. So we're drawing up pubic bone to navel, we're lengthening the tailbone, flesh of the buttocks towards the floor. Nice, and then interlink your fingers, draw the shoulder blades back, lift the heart. Lovely, take another couple of breaths here. Can you take the ears back, the throat back, so there's a space between the back of the skull and the top of the neck. Release the hands to the floor, and then you're going to wriggle your left foot behind your right hand, and your left knee drops behind your left elbow. You can take the hands a little bit further forwards. If you haven't got a dog on your mat, you might have a little bit more space. So then we come into this sort of high pigeon. So your left foot comes further forwards, Maggie. So you've got a bit more space between and the right knee can go back a bit if that feels all right. Yeah. So rolling onto the outside of your left foot. Yeah. And then that should come into the outside of your left hip a bit more. You feel that, Maggie? Take another breath. And then let's bring the left knee next to the right. Take the hands underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes, and press back into downward facing dog. Lifting the sit bones high. And then inhale, lift the right leg and start to stack the hips, bend the knee, and feel that open up through the front of the pelvis. Have a breath here. And then bring the right foot next to the left. Try that on the other side. So lifting the left foot high, bend the knee, open up the hips to the side, stacking the hips a little bit. Lift the knee even higher, even higher. Lovely. And then back into downward facing dog. And once more, lift the right foot to the ceiling. And step the right foot forwards. You can have a brick here. So with the brick on the outside of your left foot, right foot, flatten the left foot down, hugging the right knee back, the right hip back, come into side angle pose. There we are. So you can have the foot next to the brick or the hand. So that foot can come a little bit further forwards. And then we can get lower through the hips. Wrap your right sit bone underneath the shoulder. There we are. And then open up the chest. Feel as if you're rooting from the core of your pelvis into your feet, and then start to straighten the right leg. Triangle pose. Let's have another couple of breaths. So your brick can be high to help you straighten your front knee. Ali, try taking the brick on the outside of your foot. See if that gives you a bit more space for the chest, the torso to extend. Lovely. Let's have one more breath. Trikonasana. And then start to bring your left hand down, turn onto the ball of your left foot. And if you've got your other brick there, then just start to wrap your right hip back, coming into a version of pyramid pose. You can step the back foot in if you want to. Lovely. Just relax the head and neck for a moment here. And then start to bend your right knee. So you're in a long lunge. And you're going to reach your hands a little bit further forward. You're going to step into your right foot. Are you ready? So you're just going to, you might even straighten the knee a bit for some momentum and come into standing split. So begin to feel as if you're reaching the left foot towards the ceiling. And if you feel confident, you could walk your hands back towards your right foot. And lift the left leg even higher. Well done. Have another breath. And then start to bend your left knee. See if you can come all the way to standing, keeping your left foot off the floor. Hands to the heart. Bring your left knee in. And then exhale, left foot next to right. Well done. So we're going to step into, we'll flow into downward facing dog. So inhale, lifting the gaze, lifting the arms. Exhale into forward fold. Inhale, lengthen the chest forwards. And exhale, step into downward facing dog. And then when you're ready, inhale, lift the left foot to the ceiling. And as you exhale, step the left foot forward, grab your brick. And we start with side angle pose. So you ground your right foot. Your brick is on the outside of your left foot. And you start to stack the shoulders above that left knee. And you can push your left knee into the left forearm. Yeah, to get that nice alignment. And then start to reach out in all directions, rooting through your back foot. Side angle pose, that's it, lovely. Have another breath. Can you hug your left hip underneath? And then start to straighten your left leg, Trikonasana. So that's all that changes. Apart from maybe you bring your left brick higher if you want to. Good. Now root into your feet from the core of your pelvis. Push into your feet and see if you can extend through the torso a little bit more. Brilliant, everybody. Really root into that front foot, the front big toe joint. And take another deep breath. Inhale. And as you exhale, start to bring your right hand down to the mat. If you've got your brick handy, that's great. Roll onto the ball of the right foot. And you might want to step your right foot in a little bit. You could even come into full pyramid, which is with your right foot grounded. Do what feels good. You're hugging your left hip back as you bow. Feel as if the left hip draws back, the right hip forward, so you're squaring through the pelvis. If you stepped your foot forward, step it back into a long lunge as you begin to bend your left knee. Nice long lunge, feel a bit of power in your back leg. And then you might take your bricks forwards, your fingertips forward. You're going to step into your left foot. As you inhale, step up, lift the right foot to the ceiling. And make your standing your leg, your left leg really strong. So root from the pelvis into the foot, all four corners of the foot. And maybe you can walk your hands back towards your foot and lift your left foot, lift your right foot even higher. Great, and then we'll come up to standing if you can without putting your right foot down. So bend your right knee and then start to come up, hands to the heart. And then ground your right foot. Might just come off a moment and let it. You're doing fine. Right. So, standing at the front of your mat, nice and tall for your feet grounding. Take the weight into your right foot and hug your left knee in. Good. You're going to take your left knee in your left hand and open it out to the side. Your right hand can be on the hip. And again, you want to root into this standing leg, so we're not letting the left hip drop out to the side. Good. So opening out. Good. And if you feel that you can, you might take your fingertips and hook onto the big toe. But if you find when you start to extend the leg that your leg's bent and you're wobbling all over the place, then I would stay with this version here. Otherwise, you could try extending through both legs and then reaching out. Well done. Out to the side. So your left foot's going towards the window. That's it. Otherwise, you're just here, Ali. Great. So now we're going to transition into a figure 4. So start to stick your bottom out, bend your right knee, left ankle draws over the top, and we start to sit back. So your hands can come to your heart, pressing the thumbs to the sternum. The sit bones broaden behind as you bend deeply through the front knee. You should feel that in there. So take your left ankle across the knee a little bit more so that that shin can be stronger and the toes draw back. Yes. And you might find, if you've got bricks handy, that you can actually bow deeply enough to have the hands on bricks. If you've got a little bit more, yeah, that's it. Knee out to the side. So you really want to bend your standing leg. So we feel this through the pelvis. That's it. Hands on the bricks. Sitting deeply. Good. You might be able to hook your elbows over the shin. Yeah, like that, like Terry's doing, if you can see him. Great. You might have your hands on the floor. Let's have another breath, steady the gaze. Great. And then you can have hands on the bricks here. Take a really long step into a wide-legged forward fold. And let the crown of the head descend. Feet parallel. And see if you can allow the spine to lengthen. And then start to walk the hands to the front of your mat once more. And come and stand at the front of the mat. Inhaling to rise. And then exhale, hands to the heart, standing nice and tall. So we're going to lift up your right knee. And feel that you're really strongly pressing into your left foot. And if you're struggling with balance a little bit, don't worry. Just go with it, be patient. You could always have the wall behind you for a bit of stability. Start by opening up the knee to the side. So we get this opening through the groin. Nice. Now you can take the hand to the ankle, if that's the next step. You could maybe take your fingers to your big toe and open out to the side. So for me this morning, my left side doesn't really want to do it, so I'm going to stay here in this almost tree, but not quite. So you really open, take the foot away from the thigh, yeah, open through the front of the pelvis, and then take your left arm out. And maybe your gaze can come to the left. Good, really firmly pressing into your left foot from the pelvis, lovely. And then we're going to start to cross that right foot over the left knee and begin to sit back. So your hands can be at your heart, pressing the palms together can give you some stability here. And if you see from the side, if you just bow, you don't get so much in the hips. We really need to bend the standing leg. So you're in like a chair foundation. So knee bent, sit bones broad behind, and then we maybe take the elbow to the shin. Maybe you can take the fingertips to the brick. Maybe you've got your hands on the floor. So you could always just take your back to the wall if you're struggling with balance today. So you can have your sit bones against a wall. Yeah, so be patient and take another couple of breaths. Right toes drawing back. Well done. And then once more, take a long step back and come into Pavarita Padottanasana. So long step into a wide forward fold. Feet parallel, feet really wide. Lovely. And then let the spine release. If you've got a brick there, you could rest your head. And feel as if gravity is just drawing the crown of the head down and giving you a little bit of traction through the spine. So keeping the head down, heel toe, the feet in a couple of times and end with the heels in and the toes out, and then sit the hips back. So you're trying to get the hips in line with the knees. Have your hands come up onto your knees, roll the shoulder blades back, and then start to lift the chest. And you can use the hands to help open up the hips. Now start to tuck the pelvis under. So really we want the knees and the pelvis in line with each other. So can you take your pelvis towards the bed, Terry? So you're really feeling like you're pressing the pelvis forwards. Then we can start to stack the shoulders over the hips. Get a bit lower. And then take the arms out, shoulders draw in, goddess pose. Lovely. So feel as if the pelvis is drawing forwards and the knees are drawing backwards. Have another breath, goddess pose, lovely. Bend the elbows, squeeze the shoulder blades in, lift the heart. And then start to straighten the legs, bring the feet parallel, and then come into Uttanasana, forward fold. Steady the breath. And then come to sit on your mat. And again, I would, if you've got something that just lifts your pelvis a little bit, then I would find that. And come and sit back in cross-legged if that's available. So you can just be kind to your knees here. So if, like me, you're dominant in your right side, you might find that your right shin is on the at the front. See if you can scoop your shin. So some people have got the mechanics and the flexibility to be able to cradle a shin in the elbows. I don't have that. So my left hand is on my right foot and my right elbow is underneath the knee. Then I can cradle the shin and still sit tall. So the right sit bone wants to stay grounded, and then we can rock the baby. Can you keep the spine nice and long? Can you take the shin across the body and almost feel as if this right foot is coming in line with the left hip? Yeah. And then you might be able to place the ankle on the left knee, the left thigh. Now this is where sometimes ankles and knees can not like things very much. So Maggie, you could straighten your left leg. Yeah, and then see if you can work on really grounding that right sit bone, keeping the shin parallel. Yeah, do you still get that in the right hip? Yeah, ideal. Good. And then if you have got your ankle on your knee, just make sure that the sole of the right foot is not pointing to the ceiling. We want it to be pointing straight out in front of you. And the toes draw back, so you feel the shin engage here, and it takes some pressure out of the knee. Yeah, so we should really, the focus of tension, if you like, in this pose should be in the right buttock rather than in the knee. So straighten out your left leg if that feels better for you. So we can be here. And if it doesn't, if it's not enough, you can keep cradling. Let's have another breath here. Good. So if you have your legs straight, stay there. If you want to have a go at fire log, then we've been here. What we can do is to hinge over to the left. So my left knee is on the floor. I'm going to put my right foot on the floor and I'm going to wriggle the left heel a bit closer to my sit bone. And then I'm going to see if I can tip back onto yeah, okay, that's what we just did. What I'm going to do, if you want it stronger, that's what we were doing. If you want it a bit stronger, then the left shin is going to be more parallel to the mat, and that makes it stronger on both hips. So this bottom shin is parallel to the mat. So then you're stacking your shins. So this now, for me, gets much more challenging. Yeah, so then tip back, Ali. So we've been here, and then we tip back. And that foot lifts. Yeah, your right foot lifts off the floor. Yeah, good. There we are. So you might need your hands behind you. Great, well done. Have another breath. And cradle that one more time. Take hold of your right foot and see if you can open out that leg to the side. Just give that a bit of ease through the knee. Sit nice and tall. And then let's try that to the other side. So you just sit cross-legged, so your right heel can be quite close to the left sit bone here. And then scoop up your left shin. So again, I don't have a lot of mobility here, so I can just about get my elbow underneath my knee, maybe not that great. But wherever it now feels pretty secure, and I want to be able to still sit really tall. So your sit bones are descending. Can you draw the shin across your body? And give it a little rock. So we're working on having the left heel in line with the right hip. That's it. And then maybe we can actually let it sit on the right thigh. So right leg straight if you need to. Yeah. Good. And if so keep cradling it, Maggie. If it doesn't feel strong enough where you put it down, now lift up the torso a little bit. Feel as if the sacrum's drawing in. Toning these left toes back. Perfect. Now, if you want to take it a little bit stronger, you can tilt onto your right sit bone. The left foot comes to the floor. Your right foot then moves away from your left hip so that this shin, this bottom shin, is parallel to the front of your mat. And then see if you can then lift your left foot up and stack the shins. So this is fire log pose. So you stacked your fire logs. So you can see my hips are really tight. So this left knee is up by my ear. But I still have both sit bones grounded. So you've gone from here. You've gone from here, foot on the floor, to here. You can have your fingertips behind you just to take a few breaths into the hips. And then start to release, so bringing that left off the knee, open out to the side, just to ease that out. Well done. And then come and lie on your back. And take Supta Baddha Konasana. So bring the feet together, soles of the feet together, knees wide, and if you can, just shift the sit bones towards the heels. And then start to come down onto the elbow. Upper back, the back of the skull onto the floor. Let the arms drop to the sides. And start to feel heavy through the pelvis. If that pulls on the inner knee, then either bend the knees, rest the knees together with your feet wide, or straighten the legs. If that's comfortable for the inner knees, then go ahead and stay in Supta Baddha Konasana. And start to soften the breath as the body gets heavy. And stay there for another couple of breaths. If you want to finish in full Shavasana, then go ahead and straighten the legs. Legs be really heavy for this last moment of your practice. And then start to deepen the breath a little more. And when you're ready, maybe have a stretch, hug the knees in, do what feels good. And find your way back to seated. Thank you for joining me for Yoga with Red. With love and gratitude. Namaste.